edition of One-on-One with Donovan Sharpe. This is Season 1, Episode 6, I believe. Joining me today is a man who absolutely positively needs no introduction, Hotep Jesus. How you doing, man?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Hey, man, listen, let me be the first to tell you, man, thank you very much for making time for us today, man. A lot of guys in my audience have asked me to have you on. Then there were guys in my audience who said, don't bring on Hotep Jesus, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, you know what? If half the people want him on and half the people don't, probably a good idea to go ahead and have you on. How was the trip out here? Everything was good to go?
Accommodations are great. VIP service, white glove service on behalf of yourself.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And we were actually talking about this on air, man, especially when it comes to black men. We don't value, we'll value each other's company and our content and things that are tangible, but we don't value each other's time, right? I'm black, you're black, you should just come out and see me just because. That's not the way I feel. What are your thoughts on that in terms of, collaborations and sort of letting guys know, hey, I'm serious about what I'm doing here?
I think that you get what you portray.
Okay.
Or you set yourself up for how you want to be treated. People usually respect my time, and I think it's just because of the way I carry myself. I think sometimes in the black community, we might carry ourselves in a way where we'll be like, oh, it's a homie, so, I'll let it slide. Whereas with me, people are very, they know not to disrespect my time.
Right.
Because I guess the way I carry myself, and to get a hold of me just hard by itself, period.
Sure,
So
sure. Listen, I was surprised. She sent out the email, and I didn't even, I said, you know what, I'll probably hear from this guy right around New Year's Day. The very next day, I just happened to be on Twitter. I was like, wait a minute, did Hotep Jesus actually follow me? And then I looked in my DMs. I was like, oh my God, he sent me a DM. That was incredible, man.
Yeah, I saw the email right away, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But I think I was doing something at the time that I got the email, and then the next day I woke up, it's like, oh, I forgot to hit him back an email. I was like, let me go ahead and follow him on Twitter, let him know I got the email. I just haven't responded yet.
Okay.
Because my email is just
oh my God, it's
yeah,
probably out of this world, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Sometimes I don't respond to emails as fast, but I'm quicker with the text.
Sure.
So that's why I was like, yo, here's my number, just text me and we'll just keep in contact that way. Yeah.
Good, very good. Yeah, it was very. Again, your professional's professional, man, and again, I greatly appreciate you coming on this show. The first thing I'm going to ask, and this is probably something I probably should know, but what does Hotep mean?
If you ask Shaka Agmos, one of my big bros,
okay,
he'll tell you it means satisfaction.
Oh, okay.
Other terms or definitions I've seen means to be at rest, to be at peace. In the conscious black community, coming out of Harlem, we use Hotep as a greeting or an exit. Like you say good morning, good night. We say Hotep, which sometimes could be translated as in peace. Peace, see you later.
All right.
But it's turned into a pejorative a few years back.
Really?
Yeah. Turned into a slur.
Why? Why did that happen?
Our view to the plight of many people around the world is different from what socialists would want.
Oh yeah.
We believe in accountability and responsibility and saying everything that happened to you, you deserve, both good and bad. You, in some way, shape, or form, were the cause of it. And that's reclaiming your power.
Yeah, of course.
And then from there, it's just about the responsibility and building and doing what's going to make your life better, right? So that is the complete opposite of Black Lives Matter.
Of course. Absolutely. And we'll get into that. Trust me. Believe me.
That's the complete opposite of feminists at the time. At that time, Black Lives Matter wasn't even that big. It was more like this huge feminist push that was happening. And the feminists were the ones that were using Hotep as a pejorative. And
Are you serious?
Yeah. Black feminists too, So they were making videos and publishing news articles and lots of smear Hotep articles out there.
Wow.
So
I did not realize that.
Yeah, Mike Brown died, Trayvon Martin died, and I was just lending my voice to the community and saying, hey, here's some potential solutions we should pay attention to. Let's pay attention to our economics. And they didn't like that too much. So they were calling me a Hotep as a pejorative. And I'm just like, you can't be a Hotep. Like, it means peace, right?
Sure.
So then after a while, we were just like, you know what, fine, I'm a Hotep, right? And then we kind of reclaimed it, turned it into a noun, and here we are now. I'm Hotep Jesus, right?
Now, how did you get the name Hotep Jesus? Like, did you give yourself that name? Did somebody else give you the name?
Yeah, no, I was tweeting, and I had just gone through like this spiritual awakening at the time.
Okay.
So I was speaking from a very high place consciously. So somebody said, what do you think you are, some type of Hotep Jesus?
Are you serious? That's how it happened?
Yeah, it's like some stranger, some like random account. And I was just thinking, I was just like, it's kind of got a ring to it.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, you know what?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah.
I am.
Are you serious? That's how the name Hotep Jesus?
Yeah.
I'll be damned. Do you remember who that person was or is?
Somebody trying to heckle me. It doesn't even matter.
Wow.
But, you know,
smokes.
thank you to them.
Well, yeah, I was going to say those, little did they know. Ed Lattimore, $10 super chat, said, had to tune in for this very excellent collaboration, then is going to do great things for both. Appreciate that, Ed. Red Sings the Blues.
Cheers to Ed Lattimore.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so you know Ed, too.
I've been through Ed.
No shit, man.
Yeah, I know Ed.
Small world, because you and I both know Rollo Tomasi as well. I had no idea that he knew you or know who you were. I think he had something to do with your new book with the...
Everybody knows who Ed Lattimore is.
Unbelievable, man. Dude, me and Ed, we talk about, we nerd out sometimes. We'll talk about like role-playing games, Final Fantasy. And then, of course, Ed is a boxer. He's down there warming up Roy Jones Jr. for his fight against Mike Tyson, man.
Nice. Okay.
Who you got in that, by the way?
Sorry, Ed, I got Tyson.
Wow, see, that's the thing, man. Listen, we're around the same age. I'm a little older than you. I remember when I was a kid, Mike Tyson was Superman.
Yeah.
Like I remember when we went to school the next day, Buster Douglas knocked out Mike Tyson. Didn't believe it. Nope. Back to lunch. And then we found out it really happened. That was the first. It was almost like like my goldfish died. Mike Tyson is fallible. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. I can't watch that knockdown to this day.
Oh my God, man, that was crazy.
That knockout, I cannot watch it. But I mean, that's Mike after Cuss
Yep.
passes away.
Yep.
That's Mike not training, Mike with the girls and the glamour.
Yes.
That it's not the same Mike at all.
If Customato lives 5 more years, and again, Customato died at 77. If he lives 5 more years, Mike Tyson may very well be the greatest heavyweight ever.
I agree.
Yeah, because I think Customato would have steered him clear listen, a man is a man. He's going to have his fun with the ladies, but I think Mike Tyson probably would have kept him away from the likes of maybe Don King, right? Other sharks in the industry, things of that nature.
Keep his mind humble.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Because you have so many yes men around you.
Yep.
Cuss was like the father figure, and you always need like those people that knew you before you rose that can kind of keep you in check and say, hey, Mike, just because you know all these people love you, you know, you're still messing up, you know, or don't do that or don't do this.
Right.
Yeah, he was missing that. It's very, very sad moment.
You know what's weird? Every once in a while you'll stumble on whatever sports network, Mike Tyson's 10 greatest knockouts, and you have to watch, right? Like you just watch them all. One that I watched was when he fought Larry Holmes. Larry Holmes was way past his prime. I think Larry Holmes needed the money. That fight was ugly. But the one thing that stuck out in my mind was how flamboyant Tyson was. Like, I think like maybe the 3rd or 4th round, Mike Tyson comes out, he's kind of high kicking. I'm like, listen, we all knew he was going to freaking destroy Larry Holmes, but so did Tyson. And he just seemed you have to have confidence, right? But you can't have Fernando Vargas confidence and you're not ready for Oscar De La Hoya. Of course, we all know how that happened. But Mike Tyson seemed very sort of out of control. And then, of course, February 11th of the very next year, he goes down to Douglas, man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Shout out to Iron Mike. Red Sings the Blues, $5 super chat says, I remember the college days of listening to Hotep while doing stage blueprints in the lab. You both got me through college. Okay, very good. Appreciate that. Chris Von Erich, $5 says, shout out to Hotep and Donnie. I think Hotep is a deep thinker and brings something very unique. I like to think of myself as an intelligent guy, but I got to admit, it's intimidating sitting here next to, and I'm not saying that to be, but I don't know, like, I guess I'm intelligent, but listening to you talk, it's just, I don't know, man. It's like, how do you become a deep thinker? Do you already have to be like that? Or is it just something that you just sort of take interest in?
The Socratic Method.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't know what the Socratic Method was until people were saying I was doing it. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly it. It's like You know, so like when people say I'm intelligent, you know, I first ask myself, are you intelligent?
Right.
You know, and I go, not really. Right.
Okay.
I say not really.
Okay.
Which makes me want to say, well, how do we become more intelligent?
Okay.
Right?
All right.
And then it's that drive to get better is what makes each individual better. So I practice that humbleness, that humility. Like,
Okay.
you know, when everybody tells me I'm great, you know, I'm thankful. I'm you know, I appreciate that feedback. But I remember being young and working for 50 Cent. And for example, I'll tell you this story. Twice in my life this happened to me. I was working at Olive Garden, and no, I was working at TGI Fridays, and I commuted from New Jersey all the way to TGI Fridays for a reason I did not know. That was the stupidest thing I've ever done.
Holy shit.
And then
where was the Fridays? Where was the TGI Fridays at?
In Midtown Manhattan, like Times Square.
My God,
right?
you almost couldn't afford to work there.
Correct. That is actually true. I could barely afford to get to work. So if I didn't make tips that day, you know.
That was it.
Yeah. So, and my dumbass chose the night shift. And in New York, you choose the day shift.
Yeah,
but
right.
in Jersey, it's the opposite, right? So I was on the wrong shift. And I remember my boss coming up to me. He said, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I don't know. I clock out in a few hours." He's like, "No, what are you doing at this job?" And I'm like, "What do you mean I need money?" He's like, "You don't belong here."
Yeah.
And I'm just, and there's another black brother. And
Sure.
he's my manager. And I'm looking at him. And I'm like, whatever, bro.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Quit the job a few weeks later just because it was just stupid for me to even be there. And I wasn't making any money. And then I had a job at Olive Garden. I remember Julio. He was one of our, he was a co-worker of mine and one of the better servers. And I was serving tables at Olive Garden. And he came up to me one day and tapped me on the shoulder. He said, "Bro, what are you doing here?"
Oh, wow.
And
It's
I'm
twice
like,
now.
It's twice.
Right.
The
Yeah.
second time this happens to me. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I'm working. What do you mean?" He's like, "You don't belong here." And I'm like, "Yo, somebody else tells me the same exact thing." Because I'm looking at my life and my ego's inflated at this time.
Sure.
So I'm like, how come my life doesn't reflect my ego? Like, I know I'm great. I know I'm good at these things, but my bank account doesn't look like it. My life doesn't look like it. And, you know, I would quit jobs because, like, one time I worked at Bonefish Grill and I requested off a weekend because I was a touring artist and they didn't give it to me. And I'm like, well, I'm going to take the day anyway.
Yeah, screw it,
right? So I was that type of guy. I was always choosing my professional career over these jobs. Right?
Okay.
So I'd get them and I'd lose them because it's like conflict of interest.
They're a dime a dozen anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I got with 50, and then when I was with 50,
How did that happen?
well, at the time I was running a blog, and my blog was like super popular. We're getting millions of hits a month. Entertainment blog. We covered entertainment news. I had 7 writers working for me at that time. So we had a lot of traffic. So because we were in media, we got event invites.
Okay.
You know? So I was always getting invited to events or sent free stuff like that. So I'd go to some of the industry events, but one of them was for 50 Cent.
Yeah.
I covered the launch of his drink, and I was one of the few blogs that did. So they invited me to the bus launch, and I showed up at the bus launch. And
Is this the vitamin water?
this is after Vitamin Water.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When Vitamin Water hit, he had already, that was his $400 million bag.
So
yeah.
he really made that kind of money off vitamin water.
He took equity instead of the money up front.
Oh,
which is a genius
smart.
move. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think
Yeah,
he
very
owns
savvy.
10% of Vitamin Water. I
No
can't
shit,
remember.
man.
Something stupid like that. Yeah.
Man.
So he made a big bag off of that. But the company I work for was, you know, he's taking some of those winnings and he's betting again, right?
Okay.
So I was on the bus and, you know, I'm chilling and I'm an artist. I have an entertainment blog. So I'm like, I'm in my element.
Yeah.
I love 50. Always loved his music. Always loved his vibe. Love what he did with G Unit. And we're on the bus. 50's in front of me. And then the bus pulls off. And then we're like sitting in New York City, Times Square. And like people are around. But like it's quiet to me. Like the city noise is in the background. I don't hear it. But the bus, the double-decker bus, it's completely quiet. Everybody's nervous because 50's on a bus,
Right,
you know?
right.
And I'm the one idiot that stands up and goes, "Yo, I'm on the bus with 50 Cent," right?
What? Did people outside hear you?
Yeah, I was yelling to them.
Oh,
I
wow.
was yelling to the people on the ground.
Oh, my
Because
God.
in my head, I'm like, should I do this? Because if I do it, I'm going to get kicked off. And then on the other side, it's like, dude, if you get kicked off, you still broke anyway.
Right.
So-
Nothing ventured, nothing gained, though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I did it. And as soon as we pulled off, his team grabbed me, threw the hat on me, threw the shirt on me, pulled me to the front. Now it's me and 50 standing next to each other. I'm this hype man. He's doing his thing. And then I parlayed that into a job at the marketing department.
Okay.
And I wrote the marketing plan for that energy drink.
Yeah.
So the next 2 years was all my marketing plan. And that was great. Well, I wouldn't say all of it. I would say the New York level, the national campaign, I had worked on some, but that was like predetermined before I got there.
Right. Yeah, they already have people working on that at that point.
Yeah. So that's how the whole 50 thing happened. I remember being in Chicago and being at dinner with 50, and 50 turns and he looks at me because the table got quiet. And he goes, "You're a genius." And I was just like, "Oh wow, I'm humble. Thank you. Appreciate that." Yeah. So like people always like pump my head with this like intellectual thing and all of that. And you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So that's the quest I'm on, is to know everything I don't know so I can then know of it to learn it. So, you know, like Kanye uses this word multi-genius.
Yes.
I would say I'm a multi-student. Right? So I try to stay in student form at all times and always learning. And that's kind of like why I have such a grasp of the world, is because I don't discount anybody's thoughts, no matter how far extreme right or extreme left it is. I'm like, well, let me hear what this person has to say,
right?
Because they might say something I've never heard before. And a lot of times it's true. They say something, I'm like, I've never heard that perspective before. So it kind of gives me another angle to the prism of my mind that's being created, right? So you're slowly just like etching away your brain and trying to just craft it to become better. But you know, I've always been like, my favorite Ninja Turtle was Donatello because he was the geek.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
He was
the artist.
mind.
Yeah.
So I've always been attracted to great minds. I always knew I was gonna be an intellectual. I stopped rapping because I wanted my kids to see me as an intellectual and not a rapper, so they would emulate Dad the intellectual and not Dad the rapper.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So then so when people say it now, like you know, you're an intellectual, I'm like, it's probably because I just great at branding.
Well, not only that, you're obviously you're articulate, right? You have a strong command of the English language. I think that has a lot to do with it.
Sure. I've always had that. My mother made me speak the Queen's English when I was a child. If I would say something, I remember one time I was a kid and we were at her boss. We went down the shore and we're hanging out with a whole bunch of coworkers and her boss. And my mom worked for a Fortune 500 company. She made 6 figures. She was an accountant. So these are like all the big wigs, right?
Okay.
And I screamed out, "Mom, I have to use the bathroom." And I didn't. Yeah, I said bathroom instead of throom. Man, on the way home, she chewed me out about 15, 20 minutes straight. "You embarrass me in front of those people. That's not how I want you to talk." But I was imitating this kid I heard on a commercial.
Sure.
And I was just saying it like him playfully.
Right.
And my mom tore into me. So she always told me, like, "Hey, don't pronounce your words like that. Pronounce it like this, da-da-da." And I spent a lot of my adult life getting away from that.
Yes.
I didn't want to talk
white.
Right. You know,
Right.
I didn't like that. But now I'm like, "Thanks, Mom."
Yeah. Hey, I got cracked on the back of the knuckles with the wooden spoon as a kid. Donovan, do you have any homework? I ain't got no homework. Crack. Yeah. Let's try that again. I don't have any homework, you know? It's interesting that you bring up the I didn't want to sound white, right? I'm sure as a kid, you listen to the both of us talk. I'm sure you've been, you got, accused of certain things, called all kinds of names. Yeah. How did you deal with that, and how do you deal with it now?
So it was funny because I got it on both ends.
Yes, right. Listen, we're too white for black people, too black for white people.
Yeah.
That's how it goes, man.
And my dad's from Jamaica too.
Okay.
So one summer I spent in Jamaica, I came back and the teacher couldn't understand me. The kids couldn't understand me. Yeah. And then most summers I spent at my grandma's house. And that's like in Essex County. It's not the hood, but all my hood cousins came there to stay because it was summertime. So all my cousins, all 5 of us, we'd stay at my grandma's house every day for the summer. My mom picked me up after work. I'd go home back to the
wow,
burbs.
that's fantastic, man.
Right. So every summer I'd become culturally black.
Right.
And then I'd go back to school and people would say, "Oh, you sound black." and then I'd become culturally white.
Wow.
Then I'd go back to the hood the next year, and I'd be culturally white, and my cousins would say, "You talk white." So, I coming from my cousins, it was more playful.
Sure.
It didn't really bother me,
Right.
and I didn't understand it. I was just like, whatever, you guys just talk ghetto.
Yeah, right. You're from the hood.
Yeah,
Right.
you know.
What about now, though? Because listen, I'm sure you get it all the time. I mean, I get it all the time, right? And it's interesting because a lot of my detractors, and it is sad to say that most of our detractors are our own people.
Yeah.
You know, we catch the most heat from black men, and these are the same black boys who used to make fun of us in school, right? What are your thoughts on black men who tell other black people you talk like you're white?
Well, I didn't get made fun of in school.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. I thought I was getting somewhere with that one. Okay.
I was a comedian.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
elixir for everything, right?
Yeah,
You make people laugh. They don't care how you sound, right?
Yeah, I had jokes, you know. So,
Right.
you know, if you tried to bully me, you was getting jokes back, right?
Right.
So we'd have to just fight. You know, like,
That's how that goes, right?
yeah, like if you didn't like the jokes I had, then you wanted to knuckle up, and
Right.
I had no problem with that, right? So, and I didn't get into a lot of fights. Well, I had a fair share of fights, but I had jokes. I was funny, and I was a ladies' guy. So, like,
shit, man.
yeah. So you know, I didn't have problems in high school. In high school, man, I got all the girls, and the guys I didn't really like kick it with because I'm just like, that's just gay.
Well, the thing is this, man. My dad served in the military for close to 30 years. I didn't become a civilian until I was 16 years old. So from the age 0, because I told you I was born right here in Philly, but I've lived all around the world. And when you live on military bases, there is no ghetto in the military bases. Even everybody looks Hispanic, Asian, didn't matter. They all sound like I do. So now I'm a civilian in North Carolina in high school, and see me, I got in a lot of fights. I mean, that's just the way it was, and I was kind of a hot-tempered kid at the time. But to me, it's almost like a bipolar thing, right? And I think the one huge mistake that a lot of black men tend to make about other black men is if he sounds like that, he doesn't know what it's like to be black in America. And I think what these people have to understand, and tell me what your thoughts on this, because people hear me talk and they assume that when I get pulled over and I roll down the window, that cop still or a racist cop, if he's a racist cop, feels some type of way, he doesn't see me as an educated brother. He still sees me as a nigger. But other black men who listen to the way I sound and I'm light-skinned, they think I don't know nothing about that.
Too much nuance to that conversation to just like finalize a conclusion.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
Like when I get pulled over by cops, I'm throwing my white voice on.
Evening, officer.
Yeah,
of course.
I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to make a officer feel at ease.
That's all right.
Now, if the officer pulls up and you're like, "Yo, what's good, son?"
Oh man.
Immediately, he's gonna be like, "Yo, all right, you know, where's my gun?" Right.
Right.
But if I say, "Good evening, officer, how are you?" Right, he's immediately like, "Oh, okay, this isn't one of them."
Right. One of those. Right.
Right.
One of them.
Because we can all see because it's really a class thing, right?
Of course it is.
Now you
Right.
can be culturally black and be high class, you know,
Right.
speak certain way in certain vernacular. And I think blacks do have their own language within English, and I think whites have their own language within English. But you can say the same thing for all professions. You know, sales has its own language,
right.
accounting, you know, everything, athletics, everything has its own language. These words mean different things in different industries.
Right.
And same thing with different cultures. So it's fine to have these different cultures. And I'm one person that if I heard you speak, they would say, if I heard you on the phone, I'm like, oh, that's a white dude.
Of course. Yeah. Right.
I wouldn't think you're black.
Right.
And when I hear you speak, I'm like, I would say he talks white.
Sure.
I wouldn't say proper. I would say white
Right.
because that's what you sound like.
Even I'm guilty of saying he sounds like a white guy, right? Like
Yeah.
we all do it.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I think it's wrong when you try to discount somebody and their contribution to
Yes.
life, the black community or the greater American community based upon these weird designations. Now, the nuances do tell a story. Many different nuances do tell a story about where you're come from and where you're going. But you can't use it to, you know, discount somebody's experience. I don't believe you can do that. No.
Okay, good stuff. Well said. Oh, Tom Brokaw, $2 says, ask about Hotep's viral video at Starbucks. The viral video at Starbucks. I actually have not watched it. I was going to watch it. I was having problems with my camera. So I guess the long and the short of what happened, and this is what got you on Fox News and all this other kind of stuff, is you walked into Starbucks, said, you know, I need my free cup of coffee because of racism. How did that originate? Did you decide to do that on a whim? Was that planned, or was it just something you just said, you know what, let's just give this a shot?
Well, some kids had a problem in Philadelphia at a Starbucks, and they said they were racially profiled, and then the Starbucks called the cops. And as soon as I saw that on the news, my feelers went up, and the idea just hit me, like I should just go into a Starbucks and say, you guys are racist. Like I had the idea, like it came to me just like that, right? And I'm like, but I'm not about to get up, leave the house, and go shoot this thing. Like, I'm not doing that. But it was a Saturday, and my lady was like, I want to go to the mall. And I never go with her. Usually I'm like, all right, go ahead. I don't feel like leaving the house. I'm a homebody. She was like, but this one day, for some reason, I was like, all right, I'll come. So I went, and then we did our little bit of shopping, and we stopped, and there was a Starbucks there. And I was just like,
that's what it is, you man.
Yeah. So I did the Starbucks stunt. But the reaction from it was very interesting because I trolled the left and the right at the same exact time, and only a few people were able to recognize that. But it's just like, you know, I trolled the left because it's just like you guys are crying about, you know, reparations, and here I'm showing you can walk in and just get a free coffee.
Get a free cup of coffee from Starbucks, no less, right?
Yeah, like, you know, like, and then just making, you know, a mockery of, you know, America, but then also the right. It's just like, oh, now I'm popular because I trolled the left. And it's just like, you know, the week before I told people, if you wanted to get popping, follow a liberal narrative. And then like Vice picked it up, Jesus and Mero. And so everybody kind of used it to their narrative.
Yeah,
like the left was like, aha, look, you know, Black Lives Matter. And the right was like, look, aha, he's making fun of Black Lives Matter. So it was like, it was ammo for both, but I was trolling both. I don't know. It was just a fun thing.
And then it led to Fox News, and then eventually you got it. Now, let me ask you this. How has your life changed since you were on Rogan, or has it changed?
Oh, thank you, Rogan.
Okay. Well, I guess that's a yes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot, right? Like, it's completely different.
No shit. Okay. All right.
You know,
I swear to God, I thought you were going to be the guy that said, oh, no, nothing's changed. I'm still, but it has changed.
No, I mean, I don't think I would be able to get the guests I get on my show had it not been for Rogan.
Right.
You know,
Jason Whitlock, I think, was on recently.
Yeah, Whitlock was on recently. Adam Curry, Scott Adams, Sonny Johnson. I mean, I could have got Sonny Johnson because that's my homie, but there's a lot of people. But, you know, he's highly respected, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
You know, and people are saying, like, you know, I'm Joe Rogan alumni, you know, and I don't know what that stuff means, or I just know it means a lot to other people.
Yeah.
Right? To me, I don't get it. But if other people say, you know, graduating from his podcast is something meaningful, then I have to take that serious, and I have to take that responsibility serious because, you know, he put me on the map in a very big way.
Yeah.
So, you know,
these days it's different, right? I don't really know. And again, I'm a child of the 80s. If you got on TV, if you got on the news, you were kind of a local celebrity, even if it was for 5 seconds or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But now Rogan's the standard. You could have been on Fox News. You could have been on this channel, that channel. Wait a minute. That guy was on Rogan.
Right.
That seems to be the holy grail of I've made it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, when we were hustling with our record labels and music, you know, I got us on TV a couple of times, you know, and MTV, and I was able to finagle some things.
So it sounds like, and again, you've worked with 50 Cent. I think you said you worked with Mello at one point. So it's not like you haven't rubbed elbows with the.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I was used to, I mean, I was a touring artist.
Sure,
So
right.
we were opening for, LMFAO when they were hot.
Wow, how about that?
We did Six Flags with Soulja Boy and some other notable, Young Jock when he was hot,
Yeah.
But we did a lot of notable shows, and I was in front of the camera a lot. We did a lot of interviews, and so and then with the 50 thing, and doing a bunch of shows with him, you kind of just get used to being in front of
So
the
what you're
camera.
really saying, Rogan wasn't shit. I was going to do that anyway. Yeah, Rogan was cool, but I was used to it already. Right?
Nah, it's not that. I think because somebody asked me, they said, "Yo, how are you so comfortable on Rogan?" And I'm just like,
Yeah, you look like you had been there forever. There was no nerves, and it was crazy, man.
I was nervous going in. I'll be honest.
Oh, okay.
I was very nervous.
Okay.
But
You have a good poker face, man, because I didn't see anything. I think about an hour in, I think you had settled in.
yeah, you're right. But I like to be nervous.
Okay.
I was nervous today.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if your nerves aren't, I remember that every time I wasn't nervous, I bombed my performance.
Wow.
It means that I didn't care
Right.
enough, right?
Yeah,
Like I just thought, oh, I got this.
Right.
And then I'd bomb my performance. I noticed that on tour, but I noticed that all the times I was super nervous were like my best shows.
Right.
Right? It just made me just have to just crack that shell and just defeat that, because fear wants to hold you here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've just got to break out of that, right? And that breaking out of that fear shield that it tries to keep you in just makes you stronger. You almost move into an alter ego. Right?
Okay.
People ask me, is Brian Sharpe and Hotep Jesus different? It's yes and no, but I do become the ego of that person when I'm in front of people, because you have to put now it's different. I think now it's more putting my best self forward.
Okay.
But before it was just being super present, I guess is the best way to say it.
No, that makes perfect
Instead
sense.
of being aloof and letting your mind wander, I'm here right now, and we're doing to do this, and we're going to do this to our best.
It's safe to say that Mike Tyson was probably a lot more nervous in his fight against Michael Spinks, right?
Yeah.
To be the youngest heavyweight ever. He wasn't nervous at all against Buster Douglas. Look what happened.
Yeah.
I'm a boxing nut. That's why I relate everything to boxing. But that's what that is, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, sometimes I guess you can call it nerves. Maybe it's adrenaline. Sometimes you can be nervous but confident. You know what? I'm nervous as hell, but I'm going to kill it.
Yes. Yeah. So I was nervous, going into that, but I'm glad I didn't know how big Rogan was going in.
What?
But
wow. Holy moly.
I live in a bubble.
Okay. That's a good thing, believe it or not.
And so a lot of people name names. I'm like, nah, I don't know who that is. And they're like, what?
You know who Rogan is?
Yeah. So when I said, I'm going on Rogan, they're like, what? And then people tweeting me after it got confirmed, hundreds of people are tweeting me, and I'm like, damn, this is big.
Yes. Yes, it is.
This is big. So everybody else is making me nervous, but I going in, I'm just this is the guy from Fear Factor.
Yeah, right.
just,
right. With hair at that point, right?
Yeah, I'm just a cool dude. I'm about to just sit down here and have a conversation with this guy named Joe Rogan. And then it's not until afterwards that I was just damn, that was big.
That was Rogan.
It's because one thing I looked at his YouTube channel, every interview he does 1 million hits, and I'm like,
that's right.
Whoa,
that's right.
That's huge. And then when I looked at my episode, it was it did 1 million, and I saw the reaction afterwards and the sales, and I'm just oh, I need to do this again.
By the way, breaking news: Eddie Van Halen has died at 65.
Oh, that's sad.
Man, that's crazy. Wow, Eddie Van Halen dead at 65. Mark H with the $5 super chat says the black women he is talking about also mocked black men by saying, quote, "We was kings," which is why I often go by King Mark. By the way, your Rogan interview has now 3 million hits.
Really?
3 million hits?
Damn.
Yeah, listen, man, you're a celebrity now, man. You're a celebrity now.
I was walking in the park. This is the only time I when this happens. I was walking in the park this summer, and this guy, with my family, my kids, my wife, we just went out to just play catch and get some sun.
Right.
And this
what normal people do, right?
yeah. And this guy pulls me aside. He goes, "Hey, ain't you Hotep Jesus? Weren't you on Rogan?" You know?
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go, man.
But it's in front of the kids, right? And so that's like when it really matters to me. So then I'm walking back. I'm like, "See, I told you your dad was famous." You're like, "No, you're not.
No, you're not. You're just dad. You're just dad. We actually have Devin's niece here. She's in the other room. Her sister drops her off, and she's, dude, cute as a button, gonna be whatever she wants to be. And it's funny because she's familiar with me and what I do. And I'm not Hotep Jesus, but I have a little bit of influence. And it's funny because sometimes she'll be like, like all these people send you all these emails and they say you're great, but you're just Uncle Donovan. And she's like, and she's cracking up all. She's like, you're not really otherwise impressive. And dude, I'm crying my eyes. Like, you gotta be kidding me. This kid is telling me that I'm not really anybody. It's actually quite funny. It's just like your kids. You're not Hotep Jesus. You're dad. You're awkward, not cool dad trying to do what the kids. Dad. Yeah, right. It's funny. It's funny, like, when children of people of note who are public figures, they just see you just as a regular human being. So yeah, I told you I was famous. You're not famous. That's how that goes.
Being on YouTube, it's funny. Being on YouTube means more to my kids than being on TV.
Yes, right. I told Olivia, Devin's niece, I'm gonna have Hotep Jesus. He's been on Fox News. You know what she said to me? How many subscribers does he have on YouTube? I was like, wait a minute, this guy's been on television. You're asking me about YouTube? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I'm told I've gained a little bit of weight here since the quarantine 15. I guess I should have wore a shirt with a little more dimension. I'll be all right. Crime Answer with the $50 super chat says, my mother was an English major, so I can relate on all aspects you gentlemen are speaking on. Red Sings the Blues, $5 says, another one for the two best black lames, quote unquote, giving this black lame a lot to work for. A lot of black men have become detractors. Absolutely. Let's take a hard left. The black community. Go.
Oof. Go. The black community is, oh man, where do we start? First of all, that's the problem. Okay. Where do we start?
Right.
The beginning of the black community is marked where? God, historically,
brought over on, I guess, slave ships, right?
Okay. From where?
Africa.
So does that make us African?
I suppose so.
Okay.
Something tells me I'm about to learn something because I'm not really a history guy, but go ahead.
So it's funny to me that we don't know who we are, yet through our plain teaching, our origins point back to Africa. Now, if you ask a black person and say, hey, you're an African American, and they'll say, well, how can I be an African American and I don't know where I'm from Africa? It's like, okay. You say, all right, you want to do a DNA test? And it's like,
oh, wow.
So now when you do the DNA test and it tells you where black people are from, what does it say? Usually, where does it point to?
Africa.
It points to Africa. So the DNA test points back to Africa. The historical reference points back to Africa. But yet there's a disconnect between black people and Africa.
Really? Okay.
And now when you try to highlight this or point out the Africanness in black Americans, we like to exclude ourselves from Africa as if we're special.
Wow. Uh-oh. You better watch out.
Yeah.
Black people ain't special?
We try to act like we're different from Africans. Really, we're not. We're much more the same than we are different.
Okay.
The only thing different about us is that American part.
Yeah.
Right?
Say that again.
So African is who we are. American is what we are.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And I think that's the problem with black people. So then you move on through history, and then so our history begins on the slave boat.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
That sucks, number one.
Oh, yes, I would say so, yeah.
So how come, all right, so before we get on the slave boat, what were we doing, Donovan?
God, who knows, man? I guess just living life, I suppose, right?
Name an African dynasty pre-slave trade.
Oh, my God, dude. I knew I should have studied before this before this interview. I can't name one.
I do this to all black people.
Okay. And that's the problem, because we just don't know this stuff.
So why is it that I can do that with so many black people and they don't have answers?
But then they can swear up and down that we are all traced back from Africa. We came over on slave ships. How do you really know?
Well, beyond that. Let's move past that.
Okay.
You can't recall any dynasty or king from Africa, and most of us can't. But name a English or French or any European ruler.
Henry VIII and right, of course.
So you can do that all day.
Yeah, right.
So you can name a European ruler, but you can't name an African ruler.
Wow, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is the first problem with the black community.
Okay.
Our history has been stripped from us.
We know everybody else's history but our own.
Right. So how can you master the future when you don't know your past?
Wow.
Right.
Yeah,
so you have a child that grows up subconsciously thinking he's a slave. If you tell me the beginnings of your people starts on a slave boat, subconsciously you're telling me I'm a natural slave. I was born a slave. So why would a slave aspire to be anything but a slave?
Wow. And I think this is subconsciously, because that's where he thinks we start, right?
Right. So then we'll mention kings and people like, well, we weren't all kings. We weren't all queens. Some of us were peasants.
Okay.
And my response to that is, speak for yourself.
Right. Maybe. I was a king. Damn it.
Right. Yeah. How do you know my lineage doesn't go back to kings?
Right.
Maybe your lineage points back to peasantry and slavery, but don't try to loop me in with that boat.
Okay.
Now, why is it that we don't know that the first slave owner was a black man? Or I should say the first legal slave owner was a black man. Why don't we know that there were 2,000 plus slave owners in the South that were black? So when we see that, it kind of changes what slavery means.
Yeah, right. It completely changes everything, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, and if white people were slaves, Irish and Italians were slaves, why do we have to own the title slaves? And it seems like when you make any mention of slave, like today, the computer industry wants to remove the word master.
Yes.
Right? Like, and all these other things they want to change because black people feel like they have a monopoly on the word slavery. And that is part of the psychosis that's wrong with us. It's like, we want to be slaves.
Wow, man.
We don't want to be anything regal. So anything, if the roots are tainted on a tree, the tree not going to grow.
Right.
So, there's a show called The Roots.
Yeah, right.
Called Roots. And what happened with Roots? You're a slave.
Right.
But we don't know about Songhai Empire, the Mali Empire, Queen Nzinga out of Angola, the Zulu tribe before it got split into 13 tribes by Europe, Mansa Musa, Abu Khari, who led an expedition to America pre-Christopher Columbus. We don't know about the amalgamation of the Mongols who come over during the Bering Strait and meet African natives here on the North American continent and South American continent, and we amalgamated and created this new being called the Native American. All right,
I got to give you my black card, man. I'm sorry. I gotta give that up. But see, that's the thing. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. You have to know your own history, right?
Yeah.
So how do we get the knowledge that you have? Like, I mean, I don't know, because I think it's important for every nationality to know their history, but it seems we've got it wrong.
Yeah. So, I'll just skip straight to the chase. It's called Chancellor Williams, The Destruction of Black Civilization. So
write that down, Dev, or jot that. Chancellor Williams,
The Destruction of Black Civilization. And this was a book that I've been waiting on my whole life. I always wanted to know, what happened prior to slavery, or where did we go wrong? Because I knew from other context clues that we didn't start as slaves, that we had, royalty on the African continent.
Right.
Shout out to the Mau tribe. So I knew that there was a rich past to us. And then when I got that document, Destruction of Black Civilization, I was like, oh, that's where we went wrong. And then at that point, I'll be honest with you, I stopped studying Black history, or I should say pre-American Black history.
Okay.
Because I found all my answers.
So that was it. That's what you were looking for.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh. And so once I found out where we went wrong, I knew where to correct it in the future.
Okay.
And what to be worried about. And then I'm like, oh, it's not that bad. We can have a quick recovery. And then I started looking at things globally, and I'm like, technically, Africa and Black people aren't doing so bad. There is a monopoly over the money and the financial markets,
of course,
but all that stuff is very imaginary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like, it's kind of imaginary is a very good word. It's kind of like virtual. You kind of think about it, kind of much the same way. So I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, but I think there are more good people than bad people in the world. So I'm very optimistic.
Okay.
For the world and Black people. Hey, it's kind of like how I feel about the Black community. You say Black community, go. It's kind of like where I start with people, you know.
I think more people like you are starting to pop up, right? Because we're more connected than we've ever been, right? Like, if not, and listen, we'll get into YouTube and deplatforming and censorship and all that. I used to bitch and moan about YouTube, but I don't anymore because I understand. Yeah. YouTube's not beholden to the First Amendment. It's private. YouTube was free for me. Right. You know what I mean? I don't have to pay anything. And if not for YouTube, most people wouldn't know who I am. Correct. But in terms of notoriety, I like the fact that the internet sort of connects us all. Yeah. And it's much simpler to find that kind of information than it once used to be. You just gave me the shortcut. Now I don't have to study for 10 or 15 years to figure that out. And I think it's important for people to know what their history is. You can always take a class, whatever the case may be, but unless you actually do the research for yourself, I don't think it has as much of an impact. Interracial dating. And let's keep it real. The only interracial dating that anybody in the world seems to care about are relationships between Black men and white women. Yeah. Now, it's often been said, and there are content creators out there, and I'm sure you catch heat for a lot of different reasons, but there are content creators out there or Black men who say, if you are not dating a Black woman, right? If you are dating a white girl, then you do not have permission to speak on Black women or the Black community. Do you agree or disagree, and why?
I disagree and agree.
Okay.
You know, it's like you got to have a dog in the fight. You know, like first of all, that's really a poor statement to make because it's like saying you can't be white and have an opinion on the Black community.
Oh, wow. Now, see, there I am bristling. Like, wow, okay. You know, but that makes sense, though. It's an opinion.
But I mean, like, you can see why somebody would come to that conclusion.
Sure.
Right? So can a white person have an opinion on the Black community? The first response to me is no, right? And the second response is yes. Or is it a qualified opinion?
Right? There we go. That makes sense.
You know, if you have a qualified opinion, we want to hear it. But if you have an unqualified opinion, then no, it's not. It's worthless.
That makes sense,
right? Yeah, it's like being on the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And a Redskin player comes into it.
You just said Redskins. Watch out. Remember, they're the Washington football team, right? Oh, my God, you're going to deplatform me.
Or the Raiders.
Yeah. Oh, yes, the Raiders. There we go. Thank you.
That's even worse.
Oh, my God.
I'm surprised they haven't changed that name
I swear to God, man.
Because it's just as derogatory.
It is. Dude, see, people don't know, man. Yes, Raiders is absolutely. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's like having somebody, you know, it's like, if you're not going to give me the playbook on the enemy, get the fuck out of here, right?
Right.
But if you have something you can value, it's like, all right, we'll listen to you, but I'm kind of looking at you funny, right? Because you play for the other team.
Sure.
So, you know, you look at that same way in international, interracial relationships where you're like, yeah, you Black and you got this Black opinion, but you playing for the other team. Or is your lady playing for our team.
Right.
And that's where the question becomes, right?
Whose team are we playing for?
Right. Yeah. Or have both of you said, we ain't playing for any team and we're living our life as two individuals.
That's interesting.
Right. And I believe that everyone should have the freedom to say, fuck y'all.
Yeah.
this whole fucking system that was created to divide. We're not playing. We're going to live our life by our own rules. I think everybody has the right to do that and say, I'm not black. I'm not white. This is my lady. This is my man. This is how we're going to live our lives. That's called free will, and nobody should take that from anybody. And I support everybody's right to do that. Now, if you're going to come into the black community and you have a white lady and y'all are doing work for the black community, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
We're benefiting.
Right.
Now, if you have you're a black man and you have a white lady on your arm, but you're detracting from the black community,
right,
then you're going to definitely get zeroed in on more than a guy who's married to a black lady and detracting from a black community. You know what I mean?
That makes perfect sense.
But it's so much nuance around interracial relationships. And I like you way you preface this. Like, what about all the other interracial relationships, right? Like,
why is it the white girl? Why is it the brothers with the white girls that catch the heat, right?
Yeah, or vice versa.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because white women in America live the best lives of any class of human on the planet. There's no other race of woman that I've seen that gets treated any better than white girls. And I think part of that disdain is the fact that white girls get everything. Dude, they can talk their way out of tickets. I mean, I'm sure there are white women in prison, but I mean, relative to the number of other, races and sexes, they skate by on everything. If their soup is too cold or their salad is too hot, right? Obviously that's not the case with everybody, but
that's because white women have mastered being feminine.
Oh boy. It's amazing how that works, right?
Yeah. Asian women know how to be feminine too, right? Erica Lachey came on my channel and she said something prolific. She said white women are the only women who were, I believe she said, given the space to be feminine.
That's true.
And black women have this pressure put upon us that we gotta be so strong black woman. It's like strong gives off that masculine vibe.
That's right.
Why does a woman have to be strong? Like, relax. Like, she should be able to be a woman and be in her feminine state, and not have to be so shielded and guarded all the time.
That's my thing. I think one of the main differences between, let's just say, black women and white women is that woman for woman, white women are more feminine than black women. And I think that and listen, there are many other elements to this, and just like I said, many other nuances to this, but at the end of the day, femininity unlocks more doors than it closes, right?
Did you catch more bees with honey?
I'll put a bow on this whole you can't speak on white women, on black women if you date white women. If I drove a Honda in my 20s, right, and then decided to go over to Toyota because I didn't like Hondas anymore, that doesn't mean that my opinion of Hondas in my 20s is disqualified.
Right.
I have experience driving Hondas. Just because I drive a Toyota now doesn't mean that I don't understand what it's like to drive a Honda. Now, maybe Hondas have come a long way. Who knows? Maybe I'll decide to drive a Honda in the future. But I think what you said is perfect. It really does have to be a qualified opinion. So I understand where people are coming from in that regard. But you also have to understand is that some people, when they say this, it's not really in good faith, right? There are some content, I'm sure you have content creators who don't like you. Some content creators just don't like me. Some black content creators don't like me. And they use my white girlfriend as a proxy to just come out, well, he shouldn't speak. No, it's just that you don't like me. And that's okay. But don't be if you don't like me, just say, listen, you know what, that nigga Donovan, don't really like him that much. It has nothing to do with my choice in women or whether I talk about black women or white women. I think that so many people, when they go after people, it's just in bad faith. What is your experience with that? People coming after you for what you feel like is a bullshit reason, but they just don't like you.
That's why I keep my lady off the internet and all that stuff off the internet.
Man.
It's like people come straight for your lady.
Oh, yeah.
It's just like, come at me, bro. Don't come at my lady.
Yep.
You know, I'd rather that. So that's why I keep my family guarded, because people will come at anything to get at you. You know? I don't really. First of all, I don't tolerate trolls. They just get blocked. You know, you say you can't speak to me rude if you don't speak to me how you would speak to me were in person,
Oh,
then
man. Oh, man.
then chances are you're just gonna get blocked.
Isn't it amazing how people anonymity breeds bravado,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like there are people even on YouTube who there are 3 or 4 content creators who just make videos about me. And I think to myself, like, bruh, I'm 6'2", 240, and I have a temper problem, right?
Yeah.
Like like there's paperwork and everything. And you know that they would never say these things to you otherwise, but they're still in their cars making videos, talking shit. Like, I just can't reach through the window and snatch them the hell out of the car, right? I mean, that's just how that is.
I think a lot of people, that's what they want. They want to push your buttons, so you sacrifice your freedom. And that's why I don't give people access to me, because I have too much riding to risk it on some low life and, you know, stabbing them in the neck. You know? That's my deficiency, man. I can be emotionally immature sometimes, man. I'm very hot-blooded. Like, it doesn't really take that much for me to get pissed off. I'm a lot better than I used to be. But as a man, I can admit, you know what? This is an area where I could stand to improve. And I wish I had the calm and the wherewithal that you do, because otherwise I probably wouldn't have learned all these tough lessons. My Mars is in Scorpio. I don't know if you get into
Oh, I'm a Leo. But dude, my birthday's the same as Rogan's. That's the only thing we have in common.
Oh, dope. Okay, so my whole family's Leo.
No shit.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by Leos.
Oh,
so
wow.
No surprise
Okay, there you go. Oh, she's one too. So there you go.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by Leos, and I'm a Libra. But my Mars is in Scorpio.
Okay.
The planet Mars and my thing is in Scorpio, and Mars is the planet of war.
Okay. Yeah.
And Scorpio is the scorpion. So if you know anything about Scorpios, you mix Scorpio and war together.
Okay.
So I don't, like, if you do me wrong, I'm not going to do anything to you.
Ooh.
I'm going to take my time and make you kill yourself.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And I'll do it from a distance.
Right.
And you'll literally want to kill yourself by the time I'm done with you.
Sure. How do you get to that space though? Because again, I wish I had that, right? But now I just have to ignore them. Otherwise, I'm just gonna go freaking crazy. Is this something you have to learn, or is it something that you're born with?
Nah, I used to be a hothead kid.
No, you?
Yeah, I was a hothead kid.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
I haven't grown out of it yet. I mean, I make fun of myself, but I'm always looking for answers. How can I keep this? Or maybe I'm just like the Hulk. That's my secret. I'm always angry. I just kind of, control it.
Yeah. It starts with recognition. Step 1 is recognition.
Oh, yeah.
Step 2 is breathing. So in order to control your emotions, you have to first recognize that you're off balance. So that's the first practice, is recognizing and saying, oh, I feel like I'm getting hot right now. It's
yes.
just like, okay, we've recognized the emotion. Then step 2 is breathe. And after that, it's usually like, all right, now what do we do logically?
Okay.
Right. And then we move from there. But, I haven't lost my temper in years.
Wow.
As opposed to in the past where I lose my temper all the time and really quick. My dad has a very short temper. I get it from him.
Okay.
My mom's different. She like boils up and then busts.
Dude, my chili gets running hot like that. Like it's just.
Yeah, it just happens.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So I had that too, and then it's just bad, right? It's just toxic.
Yeah.
So I recognize, and so when you talked about in the beginning, like intellectualism, it's really, I don't think there's such thing as intellectualism. I think what there is a level of consciousness.
Okay.
Right? Like, again, you don't know what you don't know. You first have to be conscious of what you don't know in order to start to know it, right? So I practice watching myself. Like, they say become the watcher.
Yeah, right.
So I watch everything I'm doing. I'm very conscious of my thoughts, of how I act, very conscious at all times. So I'm always optimizing my operating system and constantly updating and downloading. And people were like, yo, watching you grow over the years has been so much fun.
Right.
And I grow so rapid that I've grown out of relationships with people. Even my lady, I've had to learn to be with her because of the pace that I'm growing at, right?
Yeah.
And understanding the type of relationship we have. But it was always about like recognizing a flaw and then practicing being conscious of it to catch it the next time. And every little flaw.
Yeah.
Every little flaw. Like, you know, I was at dinner with this person. Did I talk too much? Did I not talk enough?
Wow. Okay.
What was that statement I made?
Okay.
How could I put that better? I'm always like reviewing myself.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
In a very healthy way, though, not like toxic, you know.
Right. Right.
But
I feel like you should be sitting here and I should be laying on the couch, right? I mean, this is kind of like therapy for me, man.
And I'm that person for a lot of people. Like when people need somebody to talk to, they call me.
Yeah, you have a very calming presence.
Oh, thank you. I get that from my mom. She's very, you know, like patient and stuff like that and quiet.
Yeah, okay.
But again, consciousness is not only about being aware of self, it's about being aware of other people.
Okay.
So finding the ebb and flow of conversation with people, by knowing, you know, your body language and how you feel and how you're responding to the. For example, I always say this: I'm great at networking because I never talk about myself.
Oh, okay. Right. Of course. Right.
So, you know, you go to a networking event or whatever, and I'll be talking to somebody and I'll just ask questions and I'll be shooting off at the mouth.
Yeah, right.
15 minutes go by and they're like, yo, dude, you're so cool. And
you're
like,
awesome.
Yeah.
Fam, you did most of the talking, bro. Yeah.
And it's like, you only think I'm cool because I sat and pumped your ego for 15 minutes.
Dude, he's the coolest guy. Well, what do you know about him? I don't really know, but he's cool, right?
Yeah. So that person is unconscious of the fact that we're not having an exchange.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm just sitting here like,
and you recognize it the entire time. You're like, oh, this guy's so cool. You're like, yeah, you think I'm cool, right?
Yeah. And then you'll see it at parties, right? So I was always type of person when we're at parties, like I kind of come out of the party and then I see everyone and you notice the conversation, you can see who's about to talk next, right? So I'll see this one person talking and then I'm like, okay, this person's going to talk next. I can see it in their face. They're itching to just get their point across. And then they hop in, and it's like this person's thought hadn't even gotten enough scrubbing from the rest of the crowd.
Right.
I feel like sometimes when people talk, there are questions we can ask to kind of probe and pull more gems out of that provocative thought where it's like this person wants to tell their story, then that person wants to tell their story. And it's just like, there's no exchange happening here. It's just everybody wants to talk about themselves. So usually, you know, I've learned to control the room.
Okay.
By not talking.
This is some Jedi type shit. That's what this is. That's what this
is. It kind of is.
It's like I can see you in the corner of the room, just kind of like, okay, I want this person to talk. Okay, there you go. Very good.
Yeah. By making eye contact.
Huh. Okay.
So let's say you start talking with a room of people, right? And I'll give you my complete utter attention because everyone else in the room is waiting to talk. They can't give you their complete
of course
attention.
Right.
So when the next person talks, who do they talk to? They talk to me.
Right.
Because you were just talking to me.
That's great.
So it puts me in the center of the room. And before you know it, I'm the magnet that everybody's having this conversation around. But nobody knows it.
How to Mind Fuck an Entire Room by Hotep Jesus here on One-on-One with Donovan Sharpe. Wow, that's incredible. The saga begins, $5. And I see Trini's super chat. I'm going to get to that a little bit later because I think that ties into our next subject. Says, I didn't see this one-on-one coming. If y'all haven't watched Hotep's Been Told You, go ahead and fix that. I heard about that on. I tried to watch the whole Rogan thing while I was building. By the way, I put this thing together yesterday because we just moved from another studio, and I tried to pay attention. But I think he suggested that you get a T-shirt that says "Hotep's Done Told You."
Yeah, I got to make that happen.
Yes, you definitely do. I think there's money in that. Neo God 29 says that was the first book I got on Audible. I think that's the one that I told her to write down. Jim Ed $3 says every time Devin speaks, I envy Donovan. Good job. Thank you very much. That's that femininity. Black Lives Matter. I don't want to ask you a loaded question because I can't just say go, because you're the type of dude you start to think about everything. You're not impulsive like me. You're very dude, I just run off at the mouth. That's just what I do. But is Black Lives Matter, is it a rogue activist group politically trying to divide us? Or is it really just an organic response to injustice? Or is it both?
At the very beginning, I believe it was organic, and then it was co-opted. I believe
By who?
Open Society and George Soros.
Wow. Haven't heard his name in a while, but you know what? I agree with you, man.
And pretty much anyone who donates. For example, right?
Wow, George Soros.
Let's say we have the Donovan Sharpe show.
Yeah.
Right? And tomorrow I become a billionaire and I send you a check for $10 million. I can completely transform this entire podcast.
Of course. Yes, you could. Yes, you could.
And send it down any direction I want. I'd say, Donovan, you know what? We're talking sports from now on. And you'd be like, all right, fine.
Let's go.
Boxing show.
Yes,
let's go.
Yes, let's
right?
do it. Right.
Or I could say, hey, we're running all Black Lives Matter anti-propaganda, right?
Let's do it.
And I can do it in such a way where you'd be on board. Like, you're like, yeah.
I got $10 million in my pocket, right?
Yeah. So, whoever pays the piper calls a tune.
Right. Isn't that the case with everything, though?
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
So, once the money starts coming in, that's why I like Hotep Nation, because we don't have big donors. Everything comes in from like small individuals. So
Is it decentralized, more or less?
No, we're centralized as fuck. We're communist as shit.
Okay. All right. Listen, we live in a capitalistic society, right? We gotta keep it that way. Yeah.
I like communism with small groups. I think communism works great amongst a group of friends. It don't work with the whole nation. Okay. But amongst a group of friends, communism's great.
Yeah, that makes sense, though. It makes sense. No, I'm with you on that.
It's easy to share when you just got a bunch of friends.
Yeah, right. 5 or 6 of your buddies, right?
Yeah, it's like, hey, everybody throwing $5 for pot. It's like, it's easy, good.
And listen, we used to do it in college, right? Yeah, like, let's get this communist pizza going. I got $5 from you, $5 from me. But that makes sense, though.
Yeah, that's easy. It's when it's for the nation. So, I forget who said this. I want to say during the Whitlock interview I had, Black people have never had a movement that's been owned and controlled by us. The NAACP was given to us. The so-called HBCUs have been given to us by white people. There's never been a movement that was created by Black people and controlled by Black people. And even if it was later. Like for example, if you can't talk about Martin Luther King without talking about Stanley Levinson, you can't talk about Black Lives Matter without talking about George Soros in the same exact matter.
Wow.
These socialist puppeteers and communist puppeteers have been controlling Black thought for over 100 years. I mean, you figure Marcus Garvey got extradited in 1913, I believe. So going back to 1913, and he's having problems with Black liberals like W.E.B. Du Bois, right?
Yeah, right.
Got him locked up. Like, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
So it's not new. Is my point.
Okay.
Right. For example, a lot of this stuff that happens in the news nowadays, people are like, oh, how does this stuff make you feel? I'm like, I don't feel shit. I've seen this play already.
Sure, right. Seen this movie already. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
So like, it's like, if you know what's happening now, then you should know what's going to happen next because you've seen this play out before. So before it was like, I was on Twitter, I'd tell people, hey, here's what's happening now. Here's what's going to happen next. And people will be like, oh, my God, Hotep's been told you. He warned us this would happen, right? So I've gone away from that to, all right, I know what's happening now. Let me place my bets on where it's going to be in the future.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not telling anybody shit. I'm going to bet with my money.
Okay.
Right? So, and positioning things in such a way so that in 10 years, I'm in position to just sit big.
Yeah.
And Hotep Nation's in a position to be big. And then, I'll look back and say, hey, you should have listened when I laid this plan out for you.
There you go.
But, I don't look at Black Lives Matter as something that's new or unique. It's just a continuation. Before I had the proof, I said the civil rights movement was a sham.
Wow.
I had no proof.
Shit. Okay.
No proof. I didn't read anything. I didn't hear it on YouTube. It was just my own premonition said, you know what? The civil rights movement just seems stupid for some reason, and I don't believe in it. Something's fishy. None of this shit makes sense. And why would they do this? And why would they do that? And why is he famous? If this is a system of white supremacy, why would they have any Black person famous? Why would they give holidays to Black people? And then I'm just like, maybe they gave him a holiday because he was an agent for them.
Wow.
maybe
Holy
civil rights gets such a large chapter in history because they want us to believe that was the way.
Man, oh man.
And then that's when I'm like, civil rights is a scam. Martin Luther King's a scam. Fuck him. This was a few years ago.
Right.
And now I got like the proof and the data to back it up. I'm like, I knew it. Like I got the proof and the data in my new book coming out. Rolo's doing the cover.
Yeah.
I got the proof of the inception of America that nobody's talking about. And how America was conceived and why people shouldn't believe in this idea of America and how to create the idea of America as it was meant to be.
When is this book coming out, man?
As soon as Rolo sends me the what's name, I'm putting pre-orders out.
Okay.
And then, hopefully launch it day before election.
Listen, man, wow. That would see, and again, this just go, and I'm sure that there are some people watching, oh my God, I can't believe. Listen, man, this is how you add dimension. And no one's saying that everybody should be an intellectual, right?
Yeah.
Not everyone has the mental wherewithal to actually listen to something you think makes you angry. I remember someone had said that you had defended white supremacists. You didn't defend white supremacists. You just said, listen, well, let's hear what they have to say, right? And I've said this before. Donald Sterling should never have had his team taken away. Donald Sterling was a racist, and last I checked, listen, if you're a racist, you're a reprehensible human being and all the rest of that, but it's not against the law. Now, of course, being racist can be against the law if you are doing illegal things in the name of racism, i.e., white cops shooting black people. But Donald Sterling, to me, his First Amendment rights were violated when they took away his team based on what he said in a private moment. What are your thoughts on that?
Though I want to go back to the first thing where somebody said I defended white supremacy, and the answer to that is yes, I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I will. I'll say it again. I support white supremacists.
Wow. Okay.
Take that sound bite and run with it, people. I just like I support somebody who would want to be in a relationship with a person of a different race.
Okay.
How you want to live your life has nothing to do with me.
Right.
I don't care if you scream white power till you turn red.
How does that affect me, right?
How does that
like, I'm still going to eat my cheeseburger at the end of the night, right? It's not going to taste any different. You know what? Somebody said white power. I don't think I want this. No, I'm going to eat my fucking cheeseburger. That's the way I see it, man.
Yeah, and I'm not afraid of white people.
Right, exactly.
Like, I'm not afraid of some redneck with a Confederate flag. I'm just not afraid. I'm not afraid. I was raised by a military dad.
Yes. Oh,
So,
okay. Well,
like,
that's what we have in common then.
Yeah, like, I'm not afraid of that. Like, I'm not afraid of white people.
I'll tell you this story, man. I used to deliver mattresses in Atlanta. I worked for this smartest guy I ever worked for. Owned a mattress shop. Didn't have a high school. He was from New Orleans, dropped out of high school as a sophomore. He's 15, 16 years old. This is, I don't know, long time ago. Moves to LA, starts a cleaning business. Smartest guy I ever met. So I'm delivering mattresses all over the Atlanta metro area. And every once in a while, we have to go out to the sticks. And me and this old black guy, who was my delivery partner, we stop at this podunk gas station where, there are questionable people. So we were, putting our hot dogs and potato chips, and I handed him a $100 bill. And the guy behind the counter, typical redneck guy's like, I didn't know niggers carried hundreds. I was like, oh yeah, we do all the time. Didn't bother me one bit. And maybe it's because I was raised in the military and I wasn't exposed to that. So the first time someone called me a nigger, I'm like, I guess I'm upset. Like,
Yeah.
am I supposed to want to kill you? It just doesn't affect me like that, right?
Yeah. It's not going to affect, not in that setting.
Sure, of course not.
Like, everything's like based upon the setting,
Yeah.
If you're in my house in front of my kids and you say that,
oh, it's
we
going
might
down.
have to lock the door.
Yeah, it's going
Shake-
down.
and shake
Yes,
the
yes,
furniture, you
right.
know. At the store, like, you're sitting behind. I feel bad for you, first
Right.
of all, because you're working at
You were in a
7-Eleven.
convenience store.
Yeah.
Right. Wasn't even 7-Eleven, man.
Yeah,
I guess I'd be pissed off too.
Yeah, I'd hate me too.
Right.
That's
great.
So like that's my thing with white supremacy. It's like, you want to be a white supremacist, fine. I feel like you're putting yourself at a handicap though, because I'm an excellent supremacist.
Yes. Right.
I want to be a supremacist based around my excellence, right? So like I said, like, Like some people say, you know, oh, like Brett Weinstein named me like one of the top black intellectuals in the world.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, thank you. And the other side of me was like, fuck you, Brett. Right? Because
Right.
I'm like, bitch, I'm one of the top intellectuals in the world, period. Don't fucking put black people in another category as if we're secondary to white people.
Right.
You know, like I understand why he did it, and I thank him for putting me in my list. It means a lot.
Yeah, but there's that qualifier.
But
right?
that like, why do we need this qualifier, right? So like I always said, I don't want to be the best black any fucking thing. I want to be the best man that did it, period.
There you go.
Whatever I did, period. You know, and my race becomes an afterthought.
Yes.
It's secondary to like, damn, like, you know, Musk took us to Mars. Hotep Jesus took us to fucking Saturn, right?
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so they're going to think about Saturn before they think, oh, he was a black man, you know?
Right. Right.
I'm not competing with black people. I'm competing with
People.
China.
Yeah. Right. Oh, Jesus
I'm
Christ.
competing
Everybody,
with the Chinese. I'm competing with the next tech guru to come out of Israel. I'm not competing with fucking white people or black people. I'm competing with, you know, India, the next kid to come out of India. Like, that's who I'm competing with.
Right.
You know, I'm competing with Silicon Valley. I'm not competing with, you know, I'm in a whole nother like battle than other people. So like when people want to talk this white supremacy stuff, all I'm thinking is, all right, this person's probably low wage, doesn't have much money, because if you did, you'd be trying to find something more fulfilling in life.
There you go.
To latch on to, like enjoying some palm trees and some coconuts, man.
Anyone who believes in white supremacy or even black supremacy, right? To me, they haven't really accomplished much. They haven't really seen the world. If you really do believe that white people are superior, fam, you need to get out more.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and that's my other thing, like with the white supremacy thing, like when black people say they have a problem with white supremacy, I'm like, be very careful, because there are a lot of black supremacists out here.
You better believe it.
So if we make white supremacy illegal, don't you know black supremacy is going to be second? It's going to be next.
I'm trying to tell you.
So I'm like, let's preserve freedom for all, and that means all.
That's right.
Because when I want to preach some pro-black message, I don't want somebody telling me I'm racist.
There you go.
You know,
right.
just because
that's coming.
Yeah.
That's coming. I mean, if we're telling white, and again, if we're going to tell white supremacists you can't speak, then eventually they're going to tell black people who are trying to get a message across, well, you can't talk either.
Yeah.
It's always going to come. It's going to come to you at some point. Red Pill Mike, $50 super chat, says Hotep just gave us some next level game on how to take the power away from the observed in order to instantly become the observed. Most men don't have the wisdom and experience to use this technique. This is a great live stream collaboration. What are your thoughts on Candace Owens? Because Candace Owens is something of a dirty word in the black community. She's a white supremacist. She's, you know, she doesn't like black people, et cetera, et cetera. She's a coon, blah, 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 blah. What are your thoughts on her?
I met Candace Owens.
Okay.
We had lunch together. We had breakfast together.
Smart as a whip, that one, no?
Yeah. Beautiful girl. Nubile female. I disagree on many different things. Her power comes from the black community.
Yes, it does. Yes,
You know,
it does.
The outrage she's able to create draws attention towards her.
And she knows that. Right?
Yeah.
Of course
So
she
she's playing. She's playing us.
Wow.
She's playing the black community. You know, I don't, you know, if there's something I don't like, I may express it once, but I'm not going to harp on it over and over again. You know, like if I don't like it, then I need to remove it from my consciousness completely. And that's how I operate my life. Just remove it from my consciousness. So if black people don't like something as a community, just ignore it.
Yeah,
Right. And
there
it'll
you
go
go.
away. But I think Candace Owens filled the void. She made white conservatives comfortable. She was the voice that they couldn't have because they'll be called racist for some of the things she says. And, you know, like Uncle Hotep says, it's grifting season, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, being a black conservative is lucrative right now. You know, let's be honest. If Trump wasn't president, would Hotep Jesus be Hotep Jesus? I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, I think I would be successful, you know, as far as software, because I've been in software for, for so long.
But as far as the, you know, the media personality.
Yeah, the media personality. If I was white,
Oh, wow.
Would Hotep Jesus be Hotep Jesus?
No,
if I was
Hotep
white?
Jesus would be deplatformed, man.
Yeah, right.
Hotep Jesus, yeah, man. You'd have all your accounts deleted, right? You'd pretty much be Alex Jones,
But
right?
nobody would care.
Right.
Nobody would care about me if I was white. I'd just be another guy on Twitter. But because I'm black and saying and things like, oh my God, he's black and he's smart. Smart black guy.
Yes.
We don't see smart black guys often. Well, look at this, Johnny. A smart nigga.
But that's how it is, though, right?
That's how it is.
Right.
And so it's like you can't help but to stand out because I'm going to say something that no other black person is going to have the courage to say.
There you go.
So then I stand out because I'm going to say what nobody else will want to say. And then I have this marketing and branding experience.
Oh,
right?
Jesus Christ. Perfect storm, man.
Yes, I have this perfect storm, but remove being black or remove Trump, and I'm just a guy working on software.
Okay.
You
All
know,
right.
nobody cares about. If Candace Owens is white, she's Tommy Lauren.
Yes, she is. Yes, she definitely is Tommy Lauren.
Right. And she's not as big as she is.
Right.
So that race thing played a huge factor on the right. And I think Candace knew it and she played it the best.
Hey, listen, man, listen, Don King said it best, only in America, man. A lot of people like to say, well, she says this because she wants to gain notoriety and followers and make money. Okay.
What's wrong with that?
Right. Like, what's wrong with free market capitalism, even if it's to, I guess, and listen, I think Candace, I think Candace is who she is. I don't think she's playing a role. I think sometimes she'll say things to maybe appease her base, but for the most part, I think she is the same person on or off camera. What say you? Because you've had lunch with her. Is Candace Owens really the Candace Owens we all think she is?
No.
Wow. No. Then who is Candace Owens?
Candace doesn't know who Candace Owens is.
Wow, that is fascinating. Holy shit, man.
Yeah. I don't think she knows who she is.
How old is she?
Yet.
She's
probably low 30s.
Oh, she damn sure doesn't know who she is, man.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that as a diss.
No, but I understand.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know who I was.
I'm 43 and I just figured out who the hell I was, right?
Right. Like, you know, it takes a while to like come into your being and know who you are. I think she knows what she wants out of life.
Okay.
I think she grew up in poverty and she never wants to be poor again. And she doesn't want to be associated with anything that's poor, so she'll do anything to not be associated with it. So she associates with everything aside from poverty. That's why she hates the victim mentality, which is great.
Yes.
But I don't think she knows who Candace Owens is yet.
She's 31 years
I'm
old.
very worried she may never find out who she is and continue to live this facade because it is a facade.
Right, and she plays it very well.
Yeah.
I mean, let's give her credit.
Yeah, because you have to.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a media personality, you have to become that character.
Yes.
A famous YouTuber, I forget his name, killed himself because he didn't know who he was. He played a character on YouTube for so long.
Shit, man.
So there are some psychological ramifications that could happen. And I pray for her that nothing like that happens. But I feel she may get lost in the sauce of the oligarch, or she might be at home there.
Might be crazy like a fox in that way, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, right?
She might be like, you know, groomed to be an oligarch.
Okay.
Or a puppet of the oligarch, or just to be in those rooms of the establishment. Right. She likes that, having that power. She likes being that gatekeeper.
Does Candace Owens know that Candace Owens doesn't know who Candace Owens is?
Yes.
Wow. So you think so she's self-aware, right?
She's self-aware.
Okay. All right.
Not fully.
Right, just enough to fool herself into okay, well that makes sense.
Yeah. She's definitely somewhat self-aware.
And that's the gag on the black community.
And that's
right?
That's what's kind of like killing her inside.
Yeah. Ooh, there's always a price.
Yeah.
Right? There is always a price, man.
Yeah.
I know exactly who I am. And it took me a while to figure that out. And the way I see it is this is and people who have met me, they know that I'm the same guy on and off the camera. When people, and to me, it's all about opinions and views. when you constantly piss off both sides, you probably have a pretty good idea as to who and what you are.
Yeah.
There are factions of my audience who disagree with some of the things that I say. There are factions who agree with a lot of the things that I say. But you never want your audience to agree with everything you say, because if they do, then they start to question, well, is he really this guy? And if they question who you are, then they're going to question their loyalty and allegiance to you. So I think it's very important.
And then you're doing them a disservice.
Yes,
You're stopping people from you're not nurturing growth within your audience.
Right.
You're not helping them grow as people.
Right. Listen, sometimes you have to piss off the people who like you. That's just how it goes. And the ones that stick around are the ones that are self-aware enough to say, you know what, I didn't like what Donovan said or did, but this is who he is. I can either choose to ride with him, or I had one guy on my YouTube channel says, well, you have Hotep Jesus on. You lost me there, Donovan. You know what I said? Deuces, right? Like, I mean, come on, man. Like you felt the need to tell me you were leaving. Yeah, don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you. Let's talk about. That
was a sense of entitlement.
Yes. It's to me that was like. That's like and I've dated girls. They found out that I cheated, but they still stay with me. Then they find out that I cheated again, and then they make it a point. Well, I'm leaving. They're always back with me the very next day. The ones that just ghost and disappear, you know those bitches are gone. But if they make some big theatrics, yep, she'll be back later. That's how that goes. Not to say that guy ever would, but yeah, just good riddance. Let's talk about social media. You like Twitter the best. Twitter, you said, I maybe said on Rogan, you said Twitter is my baby. Yeah. Why do you like Twitter better than Facebook, Instagram, etc.?
Because the IQ was higher with the audience.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, you know what? You're probably right. There's a lot of idiots on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, there's idiots on all the platforms, but Facebook, Facebook's just a graveyard. It's a senior citizen's home.
Is it on its way out? Like it's
out as far as social media? Yeah.
Okay.
But they're doing some other things technologically that's like keeping them around.
The ads and whatnot.
Yeah. And the data that they're collecting.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And the things that they're doing with Instagram is like keeping them alive, right? So Instagram's keeping them relevant, but Instagram's just a photo app. So it doesn't really take a genius to, share a photo.
Sure.
Twitter, you might need some command of grammar. Maybe a little bit.
Know the difference between there, and there. Isn't it amazing how many people don't know the difference between there, and there?
Amazing.
It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know. And sometimes I catch myself, I don't want to be a grammar Nazi, but
yeah. And I think it's a lot harder to grow an audience on Twitter.
I agree. And I think because the intellectual standard is higher, right?
Yeah.
Any idiot can I have 3 million Instagram followers. Instagram is just ass. That's all it is, man.
Yeah. And I think you can grow your Twitter account with just content too. You can use it like an Instagram account. But I think it's the one social network where the timeline is still in chronological order.
Okay.
If people aren't in the algorithm, they change their settings.
Oh boy, yeah.
But it's the one place where you can actually like really connect with people. Instagram's kind of like still got you gated. And, Twitter, you see a lot of conversations happening, and it really allows you to like see and get to know people. And it's just easy to just type in a couple of words and boom, it's done. And it's out there. And you don't have to worry about some algorithm, downranking you because you didn't post a video.
That's what happens?
On Facebook, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
how do you figure that out? Like, how do you know this?
They say it when you join.
Oh, shit, man. See, so do you actually read the terms and conditions?
Well, not that. I'm talking about when you join, like, the partner programs.
Oh, okay.
So, like, and then you see it. Like, you can see it. Like, if you post a video as opposed to some text, you're like, why did this video get more impressions than this text? And it's because the algorithm prefers video in the feed, in the news feed. And then you see how they're incentivizing creators, and they're paying creators to put video. They're paying them per 1,000 views or whatever. And so you're like, all right, so they prefer the video content because it gets more engagement, keeps people around longer, and stuff like that.
Good business sense, I suppose, right?
Yeah, it's great business sense, yeah. Whereas Twitter is kind of just like quick, like, that 140 characters, 280 now.
Well, yeah, now it's 280.
We're still kind of like.
Was that a mistake? Should they have gone to 280? Or was it better at 140?
280 was smart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 280 was definitely smart.
Okay.
I think it was genius move. 140 was way too short.
Not enough.
It wasn't
not
enough.
Yeah.
And 280 is kind of like just right.
Okay.
If you use up all 280, I think you're doing too much. But,
okay. But 140 is not enough.
Yeah, 140 definitely wasn't enough.
All right,
man.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. Does deplatforming hurt or help content creators? On the other side, does it hurt or help content consumers?
Why would it? Does deplatforming hurt content creators?
It was kind of a trick question because I've been deplatformed everywhere. I've lost 2 YouTube channels. I've lost 3 Facebook pages. And we're going to get into.
What'd you do?
I have the audacity to say that men should lead and women should follow. I have the audacity to say men should be masculine and women should be feminine, right? And of course, I say it in a very bold and brash way, but I've been deplatformed everywhere. Interestingly enough, I stayed with it. The more I get deplatformed, the more money they put in my pocket because now my content is at a premium. You can't, I can't put my provocative stuff on public anywhere, even on Patreon. I had a Vimeo account. I paid $240 for the entire year. Someone infiltrated my Patreon account, reported me to Vimeo. My Vimeo got shut down, right? So, but again, I think deplatforming can certainly, well, let me ask you this. Has it helped or hurt Alex Jones?
Hurt.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because he was huge, right?
It's both in some ways, right? Etherically, it helped. Right?
Okay.
It helped.
Yep.
It made him a martyr.
Yeah.
It made people love him more.
Okay.
But his bottom line, as far as the numbers are concerned, I'm sure it took a dive.
Sure.
Right?
Of course.
He probably lost half his views overnight and half his impressions overnight, if not more. I would guess 75% of his viewership has dropped by not having access to these different channels, such as the App Store and YouTube.
Yeah.
These are humongous channels for driving traffic. So, I think it comes down to how savvy you are, right?
Yeah.
If you play it right, it can be good. If you don't, it could be bad.
Right.
Right. I think what's gonna happen is all of the movies have been showing us what the future looks like Demolition Man, for example, Demolition
Runner.
Man, Blade Runner.
Yeah.
But Demolition Man, remember there was the people living underground?
Yeah. Yeah.
And those people were free.
Yeah. Right. They seemed happier than the people who, yeah.
I view that as a metaphor for how the future is going to look. Now, I don't think people are going to be living in sewers.
Okay.
But there is going to be on the internet a clear difference between underground and mainstream. And there's going to be underground channels that mainstream is going to block, ignore, and it's going to change how the internet works because we might be logging into different protocols for different types of content.
Like another dark web maybe created, right?
Yeah. So in that way, in the long term, it's going to work in the content creators' favor.
Okay. Yeah.
It's because we're going to start having those platforms that open up and
supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
People are the more people get red pilled, the more they're getting away from mainstream. Mainstream's losing its appeal, and people are coming straight to Donovan for content, or straight to Brian Sharpe for content. Yeah. They're coming straight to the people that they want now, and so the future is going to be a lot different in that regard, where it's going to be a complete dichotomy between the two of us. Mainstream and underground. And I'm always said, I'd rather be king of the underground than a bitch in the mainstream.
Straight up. Wow. Profound. So we're going to round third and head for home here, and we're going to take kind of a hard left turn. Okay. You mentioned the red pill. Okay. Yeah. And you have twin boys and you have a teenage daughter. Mm-hmm. Okay. How do you, what do you, in knowing what you know about the differences between men and women, and that you actually admit out loud that you understand those differences, how do you keep your teenage daughter from falling into the perils of feminism? Dude, we've got Devin's got her niece in there. She's 12 years old, beautiful girl, cute as a button, eyes shining with intelligence. She's creative. And she came, her mother told us the other day that she said, Olivia wants a second piercing in her ear. What should I do? I said, listen, that doesn't really mean anything now, but that could be the gateway, because that everyone, like, you see these freak shows on the History Channel with just crazy piercings. It all starts with that second piercing. It was a little extreme, but how do you navigate that with your daughter? That's got to be tough, right? Or is it?
Oh man, I can't relate because my daughter is different.
Really? How so?
She's like me.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, like my daughter is very much like.
So she knows what's what then.
Yeah.
Shit,
she's
man.
like, I mean, she doesn't get involved in all the politics and the social work, and she doesn't care. First of all,
Okay.
You know,
All right.
she's very much crude in that way, where so you see somebody poor, she's like, ugh, poverty, you know. You know, don't touch me with those poor hands. Right. Like, she's a princess in that regard, but she still cares. Like, she's still very empathetic about many different things. But like the piercing is like, my daughter doesn't even like wear earrings.
Oh wow.
You know,
oh
she's
my
like
God,
she's not like, as long as her hair's done, she's fine. Right. As long as
right.
she looks presentable, she's fine. She's not like even she got her nails done like first week of school or whatever. And then because of the maintenance, she's like, I'm over this.
Yep, forget it. That's it.
Like, she's very much practical, like her dad. Like, I'm just very practical.
Okay.
Is this a necessity or is this a want?
Right.
Right. And my daughter's very much like, her wants are very much like, she just wants sugar. Right. Like,
That's it.
Like if it's sugar, she wants it. You know,
Okay.
If it's food, she wants it. Everything else is just like, I need this. Right. So, and she has her own YouTube channel and she paints and, you know, she's very creative, and I have her work on projects with me sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, you know, working on a project. I'm like, Sid, look at this. Tell me how to make this better.
And people, do they know she's your kid?
Nah, I keep my daughter a secret.
Oh, that's what
I'm
I was
trying to.
oh
I'm trying
my
to have her like
God.
infiltrate Black Lives Matter and
You're so
like you guys are saying like you don't want your kids to be feminists, and I'm trying to get my daughter to infiltrate.
right. It's a little double agent.
Yeah, I'm trying to create, because I don't want her to be coming out public. People know it's her, know it's my daughter, and now she's
got a target on her back.
Yeah,
right? Man.
So I'd rather her go to the left,
Sure.
but with consciousness,
Right,
and rise the ranks on Black girl magic. Oh, you drew a painting of George. Cause I even told her, like, why don't you do a George Floyd painting for your YouTube channel?
Look at you! Oh my God!
You know, like, go ahead and get your grip points. You know?
Oh my God!
And she's like,
that's brilliant.
And I mentioned it, and she just looked at me like,
why did I do that for her? But that's the point, right?
Yeah,
right,
she's
right,
like, I'm not painting a dead guy. Like, she's just like, oh, that's so creepy. You know, she wants to paint The Simpsons.
Right,
you
of
know,
course.
like,
She's a kid.
Yeah, she's a kid, you know. So, but my daughter, you know, like, with my kids, period, you know, it's about an earn thing. You know, you want something, all right,
go get it.
How you gonna get it?
Yeah,
you know, or what are you gonna do to prove that you deserve that? Right?
There you go.
Like my daughter gets all A's in school. I could probably count on one hand how many A's I've gotten in all of my years of schooling.
Wow.
Yeah. And she wasn't always an A student.
What changed? Did she just grow up? Is that what happened?
I told her she wasn't going to college unless she got a full ride.
Okay. Okay.
I said, if you don't get a full ride, you ain't going to college. And I told her, like, you don't have to. But I think she hangs around another African girl who wants to be a doctor. Mm-hmm. Her parents are doctors. So she has some, like, great friendly influences around her that she knows are college bound. And I think she really wants to go to college to be around her friends.
Right.
But I've had a very frank conversation with her. So, like, college isn't the end all be all. Your dad didn't go to college. Like,
right.
You know, your mom has a master's degree, but your dad don't. And, you know, I'm very happy. So, like, don't feel pressured to go to college. But I think she hasn't said it, but I think that's why.
Okay.
Like, she, you know,
you lit that fire under her.
Yeah, I'm like, it just, and I didn't say I wouldn't pay for college because it's stupid. I just think it's a very poor investment.
Yes.
I told her, I'd rather give you $10K and let you go see the world. Like,
right.
Go to France or, you know, Africa or South America for 3 months. Here's $10K. Yeah. Just chill.
Look, to me, there's more education doing that than. Yeah. Now, I think maybe this might be a black-white thing. And it's funny because Olivia has said, oh, you know, I want to go to college and this and that and the other. The Donovan Sharpe in me says, Olivia, do not go to college. Don't do it. And the reason why I know why I don't want her to go, and it doesn't matter to me. Her mother, Kathy, is going to decide all that. But the reason why I wouldn't want her to go to college is because I know what happens on college campuses.
Yeah.
I know what girls turn into.
Yeah.
And you don't want to see that innocence get snuffed out and then her just be a statistic in that regard. Now, Olivia, she's a pretty little white girl. Is it different for black girls than it is for white girls in terms of the college conundrum?
Good question.
Yeah.
Something I never thought about.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It could be.
Yeah.
Here's one thing I don't do a lot of, and I maybe will in my latter years, but I don't think about women's experience.
Yeah.
I think about, like, what's a man's experience? What's the experience for my boys? And it's not until I think about my daughter where I'm forced to have,
There you go.
you know, sit in that seat of, like, what's
How would
it
you
like?
feel if she were on listen, you know what goes on college campuses, right? The Q dogs come rolling through. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
that used to be a fear of mine,
and it's not now.
and it's not now.
Wow. Oh my God.
And it's mostly become because of understanding. You know,
Okay.
we fear what we don't understand.
Okay.
Right? And I think that we also manifest what we fear, and we manifest the things we try to control. So you like, you know, you can't do this. Well, that's exactly what she was going to do, right?
Right. Of course. Of course.
You know, so with my daughter, the only prerequisite I have for her is she has to read The Art of Seduction, and I want a book report on it.
Wow. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, you know, it's like
Now, why would you have her do that? So she understands what's happening around. Is that what that is?
because relationships are about control.
Jesus Christ.
And you're either
man.
going to be the one controlling, or you're going to be the one controlled, or you guys are going to learn how to find a compromise on who controls when.
Oh, that's fascinating. I would never, ever, ever think to give a teenage girl the art of seduction.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, she's going to have sex. At some point, she's going to be around guys. The question is she a victim or the victor? Are they fucking him or is she fucking him?
Right.
That's the difference, right? So I'd rather her fuck him than he fuck her.
Sure.
And she feels sleazy afterwards, as opposed to being fulfilled afterwards because she got what she want, and it wasn't like she just did it for him.
Right.
And also, controlling men and knowing that the divine feminine has more power than the masculine.
Oh, listen. Listen, we talk about masculine excellence and listen, man, there is no greater force on this earth. Men have moved heaven and earth. They have killed their brothers. They have betrayed countries. They've betrayed countries because of the feminine. There is nothing on this earth that is more powerful than a feminine woman, man.
Yeah.
A feminine woman wields power we could never understand.
Yeah. And I think it's also, I like the Art of Seduction. I read it front to back. It's filled with stories, right? So I also tell people, like, when I learned about marketing after I was done reading all the books and taking the courses and all that stuff like that, I then started to search just for case studies. So I feel like, you know, case studies are the best thing to study your stories. People have come before you. And that's the Art of Seduction is. It's just the compilations of stories of just, you know, notable women and how they navigated the man's world or a man's world, and how, so it gives her points of reference because her mom can't download every experience a woman may go through.
Of course not.
But if she can get this download of all these women in one book, in one sitting, she kind of can master the different aspects of the feminine, you know, and knowing how to use and when to be used.
Yeah.
Because there's some points you have to allow yourself to be used.
Well, and I think what it comes down to is you have to trust yourself that you've given your daughter the requisite knowledge. And part of that knowledge is making her understand subconsciously you will not submit to a man that you can control. You can't do it. And that's I can't even imagine what it must be like to have a teenage daughter, because there's so many landmines, and you know what kind of man is going to be good for her. But by the same token, to what measures does she have to go through to find said man? And that's a question that's impossible, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't, you know, I always look at relationships as being secondary to your profession. And,
Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%.
And your life path.
Right.
And then the partner is just complementary.
That's right.
To that.
Yeah. Listen, my girlfriend works for me. Like it's like W-2 and all that stuff.
Yeah.
To me, and I don't know, maybe when I was younger, all a girl had to be was hot. Didn't matter what she added to my life. Right. But I met Dev when she was 32, I was 36. I was at a point in my life, listen, TNA is great and all that stuff is great, but I'm at a point in my life where I need something more from you. I need you to show me that you can elevate, because listen, man, I can get orgasms. I was living in Vegas. I can get orgasms anywhere, even in my own building. What I need is someone who can be of use to me, someone who has agency. She's an SEO expert. She builds websites. She's a wizard on the computer. And here we are now, 4 years later. She is now the producer of my show and is a big reason why I don't have a head full of gray hair yet. What are your thoughts? And I've got one more question to ask before we split. What are your thoughts on the kind of woman, Hotep Jesus, what kind of woman should I look for? What kind of woman should I cultivate?
That's subjective based upon the man.
Okay, sure.
A beta man needs a alpha woman.
That's right.
And sometimes the alpha man and the alpha woman can coexist because the alpha recognizes the alpha in each other, and one knows when to submit, and the other one knows when to push. But that's a maturity thing.
Yeah, that takes time.
There is no like one answer for what you should look for.
Sure.
What you need to look for is what provides you peace.
Mm-hmm.
The woman that gives you peace of mind is the woman you should probably
peace of mind is priceless, right?
Peace. I mean, I didn't figure that out. So I was really old, and I'm like, what do I really want from her? I just want peace.
Yeah, right?
I just want to be.
I can't survive on 4 hours sleep no more, fam.
Yeah,
right? Like, come on.
You know, like I used to think that I wanted a woman who was like all in the business and in the politics and the Hotep and all of that. And then I realized that's not what I want. You know, when my day is done and I'm done being Hotep Jesus, sometimes I just want a woman that's going to cut on, you know, Hulu and we just forget about the world.
Did you just say Netflix and chill? Is that what that was?
Yeah.
Listen, sometimes, and that's, to me, that's what you need. You need, and again, what I need from a woman is very different from what you need. But I think every man fundamentally needs a woman who is of use to him in some way, shape, or form, and just gives him peace. Nobody wants to come home. Dude, nobody wants to come home and argue and fuss and fight, man. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, like after I get finished dissecting the world, you know, and then I lay down next to my lady, and she's just like, these shoes or these shoes?
Oh
you know, it just creates like a simplicity. And it's like, you know, I just wish I could live in your world where life is just about what you're shopping
Red
for
or blue,
today.
right?
Yeah, like, you know, it'd be nice to just sit down and go online and shop, right? And these are the things she's worried about. Like, what should I get for the baby? You know, it's like,
God. Isn't it funny? Like when and Dev, she does this all the time. Bless her heart. It's the end of my day. I've worked 16 hours. And she asks me to make decisions at the end of the night. I'm like, I don't want to make any more decisions. I just want to sit here. I want to put my hand in my drawers and I want to watch TV and drink whiskey. Yeah. God bless them. They're all women. I'm going to read these super chats quickly. Then I'm going to ask you one last question. Bramblebush, $20 says the N-word is just a trigger word they use to trigger you into react to show them that you care of their opinion. Usually it's used when they feel insecurity and they use it when trying to, quote, bring you down a notch. That makes sense. King Life says, what would African Americans need to know to be better off growing up in the USA? I guess as succinctly as you can.
Who you are.
Okay, there you go. And I think who you are has to do with the history.
We got to know our history.
Yeah.
Everything will fix itself from there.
Yeah. All right, good stuff.
And economics.
Yes.
Everybody needs to know economics.
Listen, man.
Go get a copy of Basic Economics by Thomas Sowell and watch Milton Friedman. Do you remember the name of the documentary, Milton Friedman?
I don't.
On capitalism. It talks about Hong Kong and some
Dev,
other
look that
studies.
up. Dev's good at finding that stuff. David McGrew, $2 says, found out Eddie Van Halen died today. Keep rocking. My last question for you, man. What is the end game for Hotep Jesus? How old are you right now?
40.
So you're 40. Okay, all right. So
I just turned 40 last week.
Okay, well, happy belated birthday. When you, quote unquote, are you ever going to retire? What is I guess, utopia, what is the best life for Hotep Jesus?
Yeah, I'm going to retire one day and,
Okay.
and pass the torch to the next generation.
Okay.
Sit back and let them do it better than me.
Okay.
And relax and just smile watching my sons do the work and take over and watching their kids. I think at that point, at a certain age, you got to sit back and just enjoy life and enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
And stop working. And at some point I will do that, and I'll explore more deeper things to life. Get deeper into meditation and more into the soul and spiritual practice, and doing some very interesting things down that channel. I'd like to learn to levitate one day. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you know, like that's what I would do in my retirement, right?
Okay.
Like disappear to Thailand for a year or so.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's about the end game is to create a citadel, a kingdom.
Wow. Okay.
A metropolis, a city, a town, a small village, a legacy. You know, I want to have a lot of kids. I want to have 20 kids.
Really?
Yeah.
How about that? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I want to multiply, be fruitful and multiply.
Right. Right.
And
That's kind of a way you live forever, more or less, right?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah. But I want to make it so that my kids can't fuck up the money.
Okay.
I want to be so rich that even if you were irresponsible and turned into a crackhead, you still couldn't mess the money up, because that's how much we have.
Crackhead rich. That you talking big money with that, man.
Yeah.
Woo, wow. Be a crackhead and still be rich?
Yeah.
Trying to get all them commas, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I look at it through technology. So I'm in an AI company.
Yeah.
Coinbitsapp.com.
Yeah, we've been plugging it all show, man.
Dope. My Bitcoin company. Jiffitai is our app. Coming to Android, my other AI company. And publishing some work that the future generations can come back and read and get knowledge and wisdom from, and then just constantly improving on that knowledge and wisdom and getting better. But that's it, man.
I wish I had, I don't know, man, maybe this is something I'll never accomplish. I just wish I had your calmness and serenity, because I don't see myself retiring. I don't know, man. I'm an intense guy. I can't see myself not doing this. And I don't know, man. I think I could be the kind of person who maybe dies doing what it is that I do.
You have kids?
No, I don't.
That's the problem.
And that's I guess that's probably what it is. Yeah, I don't have any kids, man.
When you have that son, like I got the twin boys, but the one son who's like my twin, sometimes I'm on YouTube and I catch him like watching me.
Yeah.
Sit down and watch me, and sometimes he'll ask me questions, and I know the question came from him watching me on YouTube.
Okay.
And I'm like, where'd you get that from? He was like, I was watching an interview with such and such, and he's the only.
Oh, he keeps it real.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's the only one of my kids that watches me on YouTube.
Huh.
And it's my twin. So I automatically see a kid who's ready to replace me.
Oh, well, there you go. Oh, and that sort of gives you subconscious permission to, wow.
And seeing his little genius makes me say, things are all right in his hands.
Wow. I can't imagine like a baby. I could not handle.
There's a little
Diet
baby
Donovan.
Hotep Jesus that's exactly like me.
Wow.
But like better.
Dude, if there was a baby Donovan, I'd probably strangle him. Couldn't stand that kid.
Sometimes I want to, you know,
Of course.
you know, because it's me, and I'm just like, I'm mad, but he has the tendencies of me, so I'm like,
that's me.
I can't be mad, because that's exactly what I would do, you know.
What you got, Dev?
Whenever you see a baby on TV, you're like,
Oh, stop. No, stop it. Oh my God. See, there she goes. Stop. Yes, I love. Yeah, I don't know, like babies to me, I don't know, man. To me, nothing, this is probably off brand here, but nothing warms the soul like a laughing baby. I love to see happy babies, man.
I love kids. I got one on the way.
No shit, man.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Well, when is he or she due?
December or January.
So you are 20% of the way there, man. You
Yeah.
got 4 and 4 down, 16 to go.
Yeah.
Wow. Hotep Jesus, ladies and gentlemen. And again, the shock doctrine, Milton Friedman, Capitalism and Freedom. That was the
Yes,
that's the
Capitalism and
Netflix.
Freedom,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the Netflix documentary. Listen, man, this has been fascinating.
It's not Netflix though. That's old. This
that's
is from
old.
the
Okay,
80s.
all right.
This
Talking
is
and
old
shocking.
stuff. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Milton Friedman, Capitalism and Freedom. That's a book actually. Over 500,000 copies sold. Okay. There were so many more questions that I wanted to ask you, but again, I'm hungry. We're gonna go get us a steak and a beer. But again, man, thank you very much for making time for me and my audience today. This is an interview I've wanted to do for quite a while. I've watched you for forever. And when you reached out to me, I was like a little fan. I was like, dude, it's funny because I wake up early. I go in. I was like, Dev, Hotep Jesus sent me a message on Instagram. I went in there and told her that. So, but yeah, listen, thank you very, very much for coming on, man. And listen, man, if you ever want to have me on, hit me up. This is what I do for a living,
Yeah,
man.
we definitely
I'm always
swap.
home. Yeah, I'm
Definitely
always
swap.
home.
I'll definitely bring you on. I might do my channel here
There you go.
for you, and you would just
Hey, I mean,
swap it out.
it's this is definitely a labor of love, man. I don't know, man. Every time I tell my audience this is the very last studio, I'm already thinking of the next big, better studio. Yeah, I'm just that's the way I'm made, man. That is going to do it for the 6th episode of One-on-One with Donovan Sharpe. Minister Jap, I don't know which camera I'm supposed to be looking at. Minister Jap, center. Minister Jap is going to be right here Friday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. He is booked solid. And then, of course, we've got the 7 on Sunday evening. Until then, thank you very much to Hotep Jesus, and we will see you guys next time.